Are you planning a trip to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada? Well, we're taking you inside the National Gallery of Canada like tourists in our own hometown. We're going to share with you what to expect, how to prepare for your day, and some insider tips to make your visit unforgettable. Well, welcome back to the Travel Review Crew. Today's adventure brings us to the National Gallery of Canada. This location, opened in 1988, is on Sussex Drive in the downtown core of Ottawa. The architect, Moshe Safdie, I hope I pronounced that correctly, created a structure of glass and granite that harmonizes with the neighboring Gothic Revival architecture of our Parliament Hill. The signature landmark for this location is Mama. She's the big spider at the front of the museum. She stands 30 feet high and more than 33 feet across, which is 9.3 meters tall and 8.9 meters wide. Even those of us who don't like spiders can appreciate this piece of art. If you're staying in a downtown hotel, the National Gallery of Canada is super easy to reach. Like most hotels like the Chateau Laurier or Westin are within a 5 to 10 minute walk away. You can also hop on the O train to Rideau station and walk about 10 minutes. If you're visiting in the spring or summer, bike paths connect straight to the gallery with bike racks waiting for you when you arrive. You can also use a ride share, or if you have a rental, feel free to park here. Do note though that it is $14 for the day. The parking lot here is really tight in terms of height, so be sure you don't have that travel box at the top of the car. Keep that ticket with you so that you can pay on the way out. And remember where you parked. Ooh, automatic. Fancy. Coming up the elevator to the main floor, you will see that you're instantly already seeing artwork as soon as you arrive, but this is sort of the back entrance, if you will, of the National Gallery. When you get to the end of the hallway of the back entrance, go into that main open area and look up. See, this is almost like a piece of art in and of itself. You can see the people through. That's so cool. So obviously, if you're coming here by foot or ride share, you're going to be entering in via this front entrance here to the museum. While fee schedules can change, here's what they are as of 2025. It's $22 for adults and $20 for 65 plus seniors. Young adults have discounted and under 17 get in free. Those that are part of Canadian First Nations groups also get in free, and every Thursday night is free from 5 to 8 p.m. One of the things that we both love about the National Gallery of Canada is that the building itself feels like a huge piece of art. It's over 130,000 square feet of gallery space, and that's not just for exhibits, but it's massive. When you first walk in, that long colonnade that you just saw gently leads you into this great hall, right? And you're treated to some really breathtaking views of Parliament Hill and the Ottawa River here. There's a visitor center in the main hall. Grab yourself a guide and plan your visit while you're here. Unfortunately, since COVID, they no longer have the self-guided tours via the headset. This museum is notorious for having special exhibits. On the day of our visit was a special exhibit with Nadia Meyer. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Nadia is an Algonquin member of the Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe Nation based in Montreal. She explores themes like Indigenous identity, nationhood, memory, resilience, and belonging through multimedia expressions. She has a variety of sculpture pieces and installations and photos and videos, and we got to enjoy that while we were here that day. What we really also appreciated about this museum is that there are a number of what they call reflection spaces, or places where you can sit and enjoy the art. So where this museum starts to really tell the story of Canada through art is in the Indigenous and Canadian art section. So if you are not Canadian and you're from an international location, this sector of this museum tells you a lot about our history, about our populations, and our people. So really, this is a great place to learn about what makes Canada tick from an art perspective. The installations are set up in such a way that you're following a bit of a timeline as you go through this part of the museum. The Canadian installations are kind of like in a U shape, essentially, and in between all of that is this open space, this indoor garden. It's called the Fred and Elizabeth Fountain Garden Court, and it's like a little oasis indoors. Another one of those great reflective spaces that this gallery has. Here's a painting that stopped me in my tracks. It's called The Cholera Plague of Quebec, painted by Joseph Légaré around 1832. That summer, nearly 3,000 people died in Quebec City, and Legare himself was serving on the Board of Health. So this isn't just a piece of art. It's a first-hand record of one of Canada's earliest public health crises, captured by someone who actually lived it. It was an amazing painting to look at up close. It was truly fascinating to look at all of the detail in some of these paintings and really trying to put yourself into the history that these paintings represented. We learned about the Crust Cup Room. This is an entire 1840s parlor brought here from Nova Scotia. The walls are covered with hand-painted murals, likely by a sailor who decorated homes in the off-season. Everything is original, from the floors to the fireplace, so stepping inside was like traveling through time. In 2017, the Canadian and Indigenous galleries reopened after a big refresh, and they added 225 new works to their permanent collection. They've expanded the storytelling in this area to nearly 800 pieces. At times, it was a little overwhelming because there's so much space, little nooks and crannies, and little side rooms to go in and enjoy, but it's pretty awesome to explore. Yeah, it is beautiful. Holy cow. Something we notice is that Canadian art, a lot of it has to do with landscapes, and we happen to love those the most. This is that place, that location, when you're down below, that you can see, isn't it? It is. So I'm going to sit exactly where they were. Oh, yeah. This space, which is the space that we saw earlier in the video when we first arrived, and you could see from down below, is called the Michael and Sonia Kerner Family Atrium. The sculptor here, Alfred Laliberté, is the one featured. Apparently he produced over 900 sculptures over his lifetime, and there are just a few of his here in the gallery to enjoy, and they were all beautiful. Again, another one of those beautiful spots within this gallery where you can sit. I mean, if your legs are already getting tired, you can take a break here and just enjoy the sculptures. Now for this next painting, Canadians, I want you to look at it and tell me if you recognize it. Hey Ralph, do you remember this story? They did a whole Canadian story, historical moment on TV, remember? Talking about the teacher scolding the trustees.
Throughout most of our history, millions of Canadians have owed their education to young women who taught in one-room schoolhouses, much like this one.
I remember that. There were also nods to Black Canadian, Caribbean, and other experiences as seen through the eyes of Canadian artists. This piece was particularly poignant. You can pause to read the card for yourself, but it was a representation of outdated ideas about African Canadian or Black individuals in Canada at the time. Continuing on into the Canadian section, we came to our personal favorite area of the entire gallery as far as we're concerned, and that is the Group of Seven section of the National Gallery. If you're not from Canada, you may not have heard of the Group of Seven, but here, they're pretty legendary. This group of painters got together in the 1920s, determined to create a truly Canadian style of art. So instead of copying European traditions, they went out into the wilderness, like places like Algonquin Park and the north shore of Lake Superior and the Rockies, and they painted the rugged landscapes that they saw. They all had different ways of using color, but they generally used really bold colors, sweeping brushstrokes, very impressionistic style of painting. The original members were Franklin Carmichael, Lauren Harris, Franz Johnson, Arthur Lismer, J.E.H. MacDonald, Frederick Varley, and the one who painted this painting, which is one of my all-time favorites, The Red Maple by A.Y. Jackson. They were later joined by other members, A.J. Casson, Edwin Holgate, and Lemoyne Fitzgerald. And while Tom Thompson wasn't an official member, he died before the group formed. His art and vision had a huge influence on them. And this museum pays tribute to Tom Thompson in a real big way. These are all his, I believe they're 8x10 wood paintings. It's oil on wood. At first, their work was considered controversial, but today their art defines how many people imagine Canada's landscape, and the National Gallery holds some of their most famous pieces.
I like his texture.
Yeah, so do I. I love Tom Thompson's style of painting. This one, called The Pool, was painted in around 1915, 1916 as oil on canvas. It celebrates Algonquin Park, the landscape of it in the autumn period of time. I love this painting. In fact, I want a huge print of it in my house. It's gorgeous. Look at how big that is. It's a little big for your face, Ralph. Wow. That's beautiful.
That's my favorite painting.
Right, like that is, this painting is beautiful. This is Ralph's favorite painting. I love how they framed this painting from the other room. This is a Lauren Harris. It's called North Shore Lake Superior, and it is one of his most famous pieces here at the National Art Gallery. This very impressionistic piece of art is just stunning, as are all the pieces in this area of the museum. Another one of my favorite great Canadian artists that you can find in the National Gallery, there are several of her pieces here, is Emily Carr. She captured the spirit of the West Coast. I love this totem pole one. Totems from 1930. Very cool. Totally inappropriate thing to say when you're at an art gallery, but it's not lost on me that the Beaver Hall group is supposed to be about no single style, but they're influenced by modernist early approaches, right? So the group of 7 basically influenced this group. And Beaver Hall, like beavers, Canadian, blah, blah, blah. But as you go down here, there's a whole lot of nudity, so I can't help but, anyway, there's a whole lot of beaver, yeah. I know, totally inappropriate, I get it. The next section we walked into was Canadian abstract artistry, and I have to tell you that a lot of people don't get abstract art, but I love it. I actually paint abstract art. This is an area that I really appreciated the artistry of these pieces, and there's lots to look at here. At the end of one of the peaceful gardens is the Rideau Chapel. This chapel was once part of an Ottawa convent in the 1880s, and it was saved from demolition, taken apart piece by piece, and rebuilt here inside the gallery. This is a truly immersive experience. I'm going to give you a taste of it here today. All right, so you've done the entire first floor and you want something quick and casual, head to the cafeteria or the Cafeteria des Beaux-Arts. It is a self-service spot with salad bars, made-to-order sandwiches, daily specials. It's pretty easy going here. So we didn't eat here on this day, but I can tell you I've eaten here before. Food's okay, it's decent. It's just sort of like quick takeout style. It's a good place to eat, though, if you don't want to leave the museum and you want to continue on your day, to grab a quick snack and keep going. And while I didn't get footage of it, the seating here overlooks the river, which is pretty nice as well. All right, on to the Canadian contemporary section of the museum. I got to tell you, though, this big thing here, this one thing that welcomes you into this section is called Head of a Baby. It's a giant, hyper-realistic, sculpted baby's head. And yeah. Ooh. That's interesting. Oh my goodness gracious, this is so cool. So whether it's the Canadian art, contemporary art, or the upstairs European, American art installations, sometimes modern and contemporary art can leave people a bit like scratching their heads. And I found myself sometimes questioning what I was looking at. Contemporary art is often based on providing some sort of statement, sharing something about culture. It's not always about beauty or decoration. It's often about provoking a reaction or getting something really challenging out of you. And this one here, called Glass Life, was no different.
The first modernity suppressed the growth and expression of self.
Are you getting this?
Not really.
In the usual order of things, lives run their course like rivers. Sometimes they jump the bed. The archiving makes the self seem richer and more substantial even as it becomes more tenuous.
So the next time you're walking through contemporary art, just know that if you're puzzled, you are not alone. In fact, that's kind of the point. It's meant to spark questions and create conversation, not just provide answers. Case in point, Voice of Fire by Barnett Newman. This is a huge canvas with just 3 vertical stripes. And when the gallery bought it in 1989 for $1.8 million, people protested. It got heated. Some mocked it with striped shirts and ties, calling it too simple, a waste of public money, especially since Newman was American. But the simplicity of this is also what makes it so powerful, because whether you love it or you just don't get it, it's worth tens of millions today. And it does exactly what great art should do. It makes you stop, feel something, and ask, why? So as we enter into the European and American art section of the gallery, you're entering into a real vault here. There are some really old pieces of art in this section that I really appreciate it. There's over 2,000 pieces in this part, ranging from Renaissance right to the 20th century. I mean, 1560, when do we ever see anything that old here in Canada? Pretty rare. This Virgin Mary and Child wooden structure is from the 1500s. Okay, this is kind of meta. I'm looking at a portrait of a person who has a portrait in the portrait. Awesome. Prince? Is that you? Oh my God. It's Prince. This pristine bust of Julio Contarini is over 450 years old. You know what I love about this? It's the frame, man. Look at that frame. Built specifically for this piece. Wow. While no expert in European art, let me tell you that I really enjoyed the Venetian art. The detail and the use of white and light in these was chef kiss. I thoroughly enjoyed looking at these. If you're looking for famous artists, the next section has them for you. From Tissot to Cézanne to Degas to Renoir and Monet's, which this is a good opportunity to share that, although it's not very clear in this picture, and I apologize for that, there are no photography photos on these cards. Not every painting has this, but some do, and it's because they belong to private collections. From what security could tell us, this means that the owners of this particular piece want you to come and enjoy it in person and not electronically. Here's an example of a Monet that doesn't have that symbol at the bottom of the card that you can take pictures of. One of the gallery's real treasures here is Van Gogh's Iris from 1889. They have a total of 4 Van Goghs at this location. And if you're a Picasso or a Salvador Dali fan, they have you covered there too. And as is the case with most museums, there is definitely a gift shop. They have a number of different products here, from artsy calendars to Indigenous styled dishes to handmade blankets to different kinds of water and or coffee mugs. Even the spider sculpture has its own merch here. There's quite literally no shortage of gift ideas in this particular store. What'd you find?
It's very nice.
Nice. Nice. While I didn't grab any video of the Happy Goat Cafe inside the gallery, I can tell you that the coffee and the service on this day were both great. In fact, it's a great spot to recharge between exhibits if you need a break. Well, that pretty much covers our day at the National Gallery, but here's a few tips for you because I really want you to have the best experience. First, start with the highlights. If there's a specific piece you're really looking to see, map out where it is and go see that first. This is a big gallery, and you can easily rack up 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 steps doing this place. Be sure to check for special exhibits while you're there because they often bring major international shows that can completely change your experience. Remember that timing is everything. Weekday mornings are the quietest at the gallery, and in summer, you want to get there before the crowds do, which often start to roll in around lunchtime. If you're on a budget, remember that Thursday evenings from 5 to 8 are completely free. Remember to dress smart because even in the summer, it can feel cool in the gallery, so bring a light sweater with you. In the winter, wear boots you can easily swap out for comfortable shoes. There is a coat check where you can leave them. Plan for a minimum of 2 to 3 hours. This gives you enough time to see the highlights without really rushing. If you really love art, you can spend the entire day here. And for a bonus, try to combine your visit with one of Ottawa's seasonal events. In February, you've got Winterlude right nearby. And in summer, it's an easy add-on during Canada Day or one of the city's downtown festivals. Thanks again for hanging out with the Travel Review crew at the National Gallery. We're making our way through all of Ottawa's national museums, so if you want to compare them and see which ones you might want to check out on your visit to Ottawa, hit subscribe and come along for the ride. Till then, see you on the next adventure.